How's it going, everyone? Welcome to another champion guide here on the channel, where today we're going to be breaking down a fan favorite, or should I say Ash's favorite, in Scyl the Drakes that you can acquire for free by signing in for 180 days. And before we get into some of the best builds, the best masteries and ways to utilize Scyl, let's just talk about some of her skins, the important stuff. What is your favorite one? Let me know in the comment section below. I think my favorite is just the classic, and second in line probably the Blizzard Azure skin. I'm a big fan of this one. This one's pretty cool as well with the fiery theme. I think I would just like to see a backdrop like this one, maybe with just flames everywhere. Am I just asking for too much? Who knows? But let's get straight into the kit, guys, and what makes her so amazing in this game. Well, starting off with the A1, with Drake's swiftness, she attacks one enemy with a 20% chance, Booker will up to a 40% of applying a 30% decreased speed debuff for 2 turns, and also has a chance of decreasing the turn meter by 15%. So whether that's going into the Iron Twins Fortress to slow down the mechanics of the boss, or simply just bosses in general such as the Fire Knight, being able to have an A1 decreased speed is very valuable, and also holds a lot of value in areas such as Faction Wars. So I'm a big fan of this one. And I think the way we're going to utilize it today is in the Spider's Den to control that turn meter and speed, allowing us to get our skills out effectively. And then leading into the A2 with the Wing Beat Flurry, she attacks all enemies 2 times with an each hit placement of having a 35% chance to place a stun debuff on enemies for 1 turn. So whether that be the Doom Tower or progressing through dungeons, being able to control those waves is going to be very beneficial, so you can use your other teammates to take them down. So I'm a big fan of this one, holds universal value. With the Phoenix, right, she revives an ally with 50% HP and 50% ally protection buffs on them for 2 turns. So she's bringing them back to life, putting some protection on them, and can have a lot of value even when you're trying to clear 12-7 of the Nightmare campaign for the first ever time. Like, think about the Mortu Macabre. If he doesn't proc Peril, and you take that damage from one of the side minions, you can just bring them straight back up, apply those poisons, and take them down for your Sacred Shards. Or even in the Faction Wars, being able to clutch up that 3 stars for the first time, you can see how this can have a lot of value, right? And even just other value for endgame as well. If you think about City of Centranos, if you've got Scyl the Drakes, it's just a no-brainer to bring her into the situation. Last but not least, with the Boundless Life, she heals all allies by 10% of their max HP. I'm always usually a big fan of this champion so we get a better coverage, but it's still very powerful. At the start of each turn, with no cooldowns here, and will also place a 30% increased speed buff on a random ally for 2 turns. And if you consider the build that we got today in Relentless, we're going to be cycling extra turns after extra turns, therefore getting more heals out, and also getting more increased speeds out on our champions. And before we go into some gear recommendations, I do want to break down the interaction between critical damage being on your protector. Because ally protection is coded as a self-target damaging effect, so 50% of that damage is taken from the ally, and then the protector will damage themselves equal to the amount transferred. So whenever a critical hit occurs, it will then use your protector's critical damage value instead of the enemy. So if you're utilizing Scyl the Drakes as your primary revival option, you may want to consider not building that crit damage to keep her alive and just tank up that ally protection hits for your allies. So I just thought it was worth noting there. But of course, as you go more into the end game, you might want to prioritize a bit more damage into a build because you may be not focusing just on this, as you might have other options that could do it as an AoE placement, for instance. So okay, let's head into some gear options here. So starting off with this one, as I mentioned prior, we've got Relentless to grant those extra turns, and I'm always a huge fan of this with champions that can utilize a passive such as this, like getting more increased speeds out there, some more heals as well, very similar to how I'd run a Doom Priest throughout some runs. So a huge fan of this one, and as you see here, we have gone for crit rate on the gauntlets because I do want to showcase a bit of damage today. But there is no problem in just going HP percent or defense percent to add to our survivability. So if we just filter here and go into our Relentless sets here. Where are you, Relentless? You're hiding from us. So as you see, we've got a bit of resistance in there, some speed as well, and some defense percent as a substat, things that are very valuable on our Scyl the Drakes. And then in terms of some stats down here, we have gone for defense. We've gone defense here as well, and accuracy on the banner, which is a priority, especially if you're trying to place those stuns. We've got defense percent on our chest plate here, and speed on the boots. With overall stats going at 50,000 HP, 4.5k defense. We're going pretty fast here at 237. 100% crit rate, but once again, this is not mandatory. And then some accuracy. So in order of what you're really focusing on here is HP, defense, speed, and accuracy. And then if you do want to cater a little bit of damage into a build, that will be something that you focus on afterwards, alongside some resistance as well, if you want to tank out some of those debuffs incoming to keep her alive. So yeah, that's basically how we built her today. And if we just bring up some mastery options from the website, you can see that we've got a kind of one to utilize as stuns, going down to fearsome presence to grant an extra chance of those placements, if that's what you're really banking on. As you see here, increases the chance by 5% for those stuns as well from skills or artifacts. And then of course the support tree heading down here, trying to utilize the spirit haste for when enemies die to boost their speed up. You could, of course, go for a more crowd controlling effect here as well, where we're going down to accuracy for players that cannot reach those thresholds, and there's no problem going down to Eagle Eye to utilize this, and also getting a better value out of Sniper to place that decreased speed debuff. For a straight revival option, you could consider going down to Timely Intervention to boost their turn meter when enemies become a bit mitigated on health, so definitely an option. And then just as a straight revival option with resistance, you could be going down to Unshakable here to get a plus 50. So many options here that you could consider. But the way that we're going today is as so. Masteries going down to War Master. This is very powerful for Cintranos as well when you're taking down some bosses where she fits in, or even just the faction wars to take it down more efficiently. But as I mentioned before, many other options to do that. And I'm also a big fan of this one here. So the Whirlwind of Death increases speed by 6 for each enemy killed by this champion. So the more speed we can get out of her, the more beneficial it will be over the course of the run. And then we've got the support tree with the Steadfast for max HP, and just adding values to that heals from the passive, coinciding once with that Spirit Haste again. So as we just discussed with the stat priorities with the HP, the defense, the speed, and the accuracy, this is where it all flows into the builds that you could prioritize on this champion. Starting off with Perception, very accessible from the Forge by gathering materials, and this gives you accuracy and speed, two things that we're really valuing on Scyl the Drakes. As a 2-set bonus, you could consider Resilience as well, giving us HP and defense for our sustainability. There's many other sets as well. You could consider maybe Retaliation if you want to go through some counterattacks to drop down that turn meter and also decrease speed upon being hit. Very powerful. The basic accuracy sets as well from farming your Dragon's Lair, giving you accuracy plus 40. And of course the speed set as well to go through and cycle your skills as much as possible to make use of that passive. That was the gear, the sets, and the masteries and things that I would be prioritizing on Scyl the Drakes. And let's go into a few areas now and do some of the fun stuff. I'm starting off with maybe the campaign, actually. Let's go into the Nightmare campaign. So let's just say you're going through here for the first ever time. This is a champion that has a lot of value, to be fair. And let's find a really hard flaw. Let's just say the Deadlands. I know there's a bunch of Valkyries in here. And we're going to run this team here with Sun Wukong and also Scyl the Drakes. So we will be going through and taking off those buffs from those Valkyries with the Sun Wukong and also placing these stun debuffs. Very strong. Look at that. We're just going to be flying through this now, guys. So if you have got your Scyl the Drakes, that was a free champion of recent times, you know, bring them together and you should be able to go through many of these flaws that you may have been struggling with prior. And of course, Sun Wukong does revive himself. So, you know, you don't really need her revival, but it's more about that crowd controlling effects and picking them back up for some protection if you need it. Especially if utilizing other champions, she's going to be very powerful for the campaign here. And even when we speak about 12-7, like I mentioned when we were reading out the kits, if you just want to bring in a poisoner, let's just make a little team here. So we've just put Dark Kale into the mix, and he's going to allow us to place decreased attack on the waves, which is great, but also just places those poisons onto the boss, and if he does happen to fall down, we can just bring him straight back up into the fight. So there we go, he's taking a lot of damage here. I just took some survivability off him, so maybe we can see him die here. So boom. Extra turns, look at that, keeping those turn meters down. This is why we're loving Relentless on this champion. Followed by some stuns, we're therefore mitigating the damage coming our way. Come on, Dark Kale, I know you want to die here, buddy. He's like, no, we're staying alive for this video, YST. More poisons. We've actually got a dedicated video on the channel breaking down this strategy for anyone interested. If you just search like YST Nightmare Campaign or something, it should pop up. We did it using Paragon and also options without it. But the theory behind it is just placing poisons without actually hitting the boss. And that's something that Dark Kale does bring to fruition. So once we're against the boss, we're just going to control the turn meter of the side minions to kind of keep us alive here. And then boom, keep them down. We don't want to be smacked by that Adifi Blood Twin. Take down the crew tracks for a little bit. And then maybe we could just keep her turn meter down now. So have a look at this. He died. And now we're just going to bring him straight back up with some ally protection. That's going to allow us to come through and just keep going to get our Sacred Shard for your first time completion. We're now placing our poisons. Giving on that turn meter. Now we're taking a lot more damage than usual here. We could afford to maybe risk it and, you know, just place the stun debuffs to not take any damage. But we're going to try and do it without it. Okay, we just do A1 here. All right, let's just try it anyway. There we go. There's that chance of proccing that passive, which is very dangerous. All right, let's keep you down again one more time, buddy. Get some more poisons out. Take down that turn meter. Look at that. All of these extra turns. This is what I was talking about with Relentless, guys. Very, very powerful. Extra turn. Get some more poisons out. And this boss should be down in this next one. Now we can just click auto. And there we go. Taking him down. No problems. 2 minutes and 44 seconds on the hardest stage of the Nightmare campaign to get your Sacred Shard. So very viable for not only the waves to progress to the boss, but also to pair up with other champions to take the boss down. So leading up into the next one now, unfortunately, the Faction Wars isn't open here. So we can't focus on Faction Wars today. But we can go into some dungeons. So let's just go into Dragon. And we'll do the normal mode on stage 24 because of affinity. With a team like this, so we're going to utilize 3 epics alongside Scyl the Drakes. And we've actually got a Dragon tournament at the moment. So hopefully we can get a nice little piece here. So what kind of fundamentals have we brought in to take this down? So we've got poisons and damage mitigation coming out from Venom Mage. We've then got our decreased defense champion in Ugo, who's also a great healer and cleanser. And then we put Morag into the mix. Someone that I've been underestimating for a very long time. Hoping to get a video out on her very soon. But over the course of this run, we should have no problem controlling these waves. Let's just get some more stuns out there. Look at that, block buffs, very powerful as well to bring into the mix so he doesn't put the block buffs up, or the block damage, sorry. And this is where stuff like Fearsome Presence can really come to fruition with that tier 6 mastery to just get that further control on some of these enemies. As you see, we got a little bit unlucky there with controlling some of them. Look at this, stage 24, almost 50 seconds coming through there. And we got 3 stuns out on this one. And you'll actually be surprised with how much damage she's going to be putting out. Even though we never done a full damage build, we just optimize her crit rate, but not the crit damage, as you've seen with the amulet. Getting some ally attacks here. Let's go. Boom. Can we cleanse that off? Ooh. Some more stuns. Perfect. Some more damage. It's a pretty self-sailing team here, right? And if you think about bringing in a 5th champion now, you could bring in your max HPs, your Royal Guards, your Cold Hearts, and take down that boss once you get towards it. So very, very helpful. And then if they die, because they're a little bit squishy, for instance, you can just use your Scyl the Drakes, pick them straight back up, and get straight back into the fight. Some more block buffs. Now, once we come up against the boss here, it's just all about heals, I guess, with that passive. And putting those increased speed buffs on our champions, as you see, to just keep us flowing. Without actually needing like a full increased speed champion. So 2 minutes here. I think this run is about 2 minutes and 30 seconds from the last time that I tried it. Taking him down. Get some decreased defense on. Let's go. So more increased speed on our champs. And this is where I was mentioning with the resistance stuff. If you are finding yourself, your Scyl the Drakes isn't tanky enough and you're facing some areas with loads of debuffs, you could consider a little bit of resistance to just tank through that. Because she's cycling so fast, we should be able to outlap these poisons and keep ourselves flowing. There we go. Look at that. All of those extra turns. Loving those War Master procs as well. Nice. There's some decreased attack. Just what we want to see with some leech as well. There we go. So more poisons. Thank you, Venom H. Exactly what we needed. And as you see, 1.6 million coming out from Scyl the Drakes, even though that Morag is built for damage in lethal, by the way. So you can see that she can pump out some decent numbers because we're doing multiple AoE attacks and those relentless procs are really adding up to more damage. Next up here, we're going to go into the Spider's Den. We're going to go to stage 25 with a team like this. We actually did a Koth showcase very recently, maybe 2 videos ago. So feel free to check that one out. And also, if you've got any recommendations for future champion guides, let me know in the comment section below, guys. Let me know. Because we are going to be keeping that a theme on the channel here looking forwards. Breaking down some of your recommendations. So here we go, self-sailing team, double cold hearts, and we're reducing that turn meter, placing those decreased speeds, and because it's on an A1 skill, we can just keep cycling that to become effective. There we go, there's some revivals, keeping our kind of tanking renegade alive, so she's the target. Boom. Boom. One more hit here. Keeping her alive, get some more poisons out. Some more stuns. We just need one more burn tick to kill the spider. There we go. So 1 minute and 8 seconds using 3 rares, an epic champion that's free as well, and Scyl the Drakes. And her core mechanics here is just stunning those spiderlings, also keeping that turn meter down with that decreased speed, and reviving our champions when we need it the most. So definitely a very cool one to bring into the mix to further your progression in the Spider's Den. So next up here, we're going to be going into the Doom Tower, the scary area. So we've just selected this team on stage 62 of the hard Doom Tower. I just picked a random floor. It's mainly about seeing the crowd controlling on the waves and picking up our champions that fall to the ground. And we put in Morag once again. She's a little bit of a highlight today as well, alongside Venomage for heal reduction, damage reduction too with the passive, and block buffs, and also some petrification and some shields from Mithrala Lifebane. So it's a pretty cool synergy. And of course, if you wanted to, you could bring in freeze debuffs, some more control with like taunting champions as well. And you should be able to just go through and control these enemies as you're progressing through the floors. So let's just see this one out, see the value, and I'll come back to you towards the end to see some damage numbers. Let's get into it. So as you've seen, our Venomage was dropping like a fly, so Scyl the Drakes was just picking her straight back up to carry her through the run. And of course, Mithrala was kind of synergizing with her to place those cleanses and those shields to keep us going. But in terms of damage, she didn't do a crazy amount, 183,000, but it's all about that support role from Scyl the Drakes here. So we just put a team together very briefly here with Newt and Geomancer for the burns, but I want you to see how she's synergizing with 2 Hanorok, who also does some effects with her passive skill, and how they're going to go back and forth to really get us through the team here. So decrease defense and weaken. We can go for max HP. The problem is we don't have a lot of resistance, which is what I was focusing on before. We can see all of these heal values. Let's just say we took some damage here. She's just going to keep going and going. And if you had some resistance, you know, it would be very powerful for your team. And then what you could do is as well is stun these minions so they're not doing some crazy damage on us. Let's do some decrease attack here. Keep focusing on the boss. Look at this, we're starting to take some damage. We don't have a full-out healer in terms of like a Wither the Crowned, so we're just going to keep healing based on their max HP here. Keeping us going. So you can use like a Jare for your decreased attack and just keep cycling and cycling to keep you alive. Hopefully we don't get locked out one more time. We might do with the block active skills. For A1. But we can just take it off with our 2 Hanorok here. So now we're going to start cycling one more time. Drop down the turn meter, some decreased speed. Let's increase our speed as well. Let's get a cheeky burn on. And we can just focus on the boss now, I guess. And see what she does. There we go. That smite's going to proc as well. Boom. Send some damage back. And before you know it, this boss is going to be down. And this is where War Master comes to fruition as well. So when I was thinking of, do I want War Master or do I want support? For my account personally, I would rather my Scyl the Drakes dealing that extra damage to just get us through it. And let's see a best time here for me of 41 turns in 2 minutes and 30 seconds on the hardest boss of the Doom Tower here in the Eternal Dragon. So I guess on that note, that is going to be all for today's video. If you did enjoy it, be sure to hit that like, subscribe button. Let me know your overall thoughts on Scyl the Drakes and the ways you're going to be building yours. And I'll catch you all in a video soon. Peace.